I'm on my way to interview an owner of an interesting car. I'm on my way to have a chat with some owners of some interesting cars. Now we'll be doing this at Pheasantwood Motorsport Track, which is about 250 k's down the road, so I'll see you in a minute. I'm here talking to Ben about this wonderful looking old Riley. Now can you tell me a bit about this car?
Certainly, Jim, and firstly thank you for inviting me to have a word to you today. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to hit and subscribe. Jim Pope, Australian Historic Rally Group. We are here today to promote all historic racing, the sights and sounds of history. We'll be running an event on September 9, 10 and 11, 2022. And we'll be promoting pre-1963 motorbikes and sidecars, motorcycles and sidecars, and of course pre-1961 sports and racing cars. Basically it's JKL, however, not many clubs are catering for it, so where all historic racing is catering for it. This is a track day today as a tease because of the damn COVID that we've had over the last couple of years. Our meetings have been abandoned due to this insidious pandemic. Now, to tell you a little bit about the car, my name's Ben Powell, and I'm the custodian of a 2.5 litre Riley that my father Ray Powell put together back in, it was completed in 1972, but he'd been working on the project for some 6 years prior to that. The idea being that he was storing a Sunbeam, really, at 1440, and it was taking far too long to complete. A fellow he was working with turned up with his brother turned up with a wrecked RMB Riley, and Ray, being a design engineer, decided I can put a car together pretty quickly and simply. Well, a lot of people have said that. 5 years later, this was created.
So is this a one-off car?
Yes, it's a one-off Australian special, and possibly the last car to get through Australian design regulations in 1972. The body's been, the chassis's been shortened by 18 inches. There's a spot on the chassis that says, "Please cut me here." So the wheelbase has been shortened considerably. The body was thrown away. Ray built the body itself, but the bonnet and the guards were rolled by an artisan called Alan Stanfield. He's worked on many things, K3s, aircraft fuselages. His work with aluminium, well, it speaks for itself.
Can I just...
Sorry, go ahead.
No worries. We're losing sound if we're not careful. Let's see if we can pick that up.
So, I went into I'm merely the custodian of this car, and hopefully somebody one day in the future will enjoy it. And that's what happens with the sights and sounds of history. You know, you only become custodians of these cars, you never really own them. And I hope I've done a good job of keeping it relatively as Ray designed it. I've changed a few odds and sods, put a bit of bling and a bit of sparkle on it, but Ray did a very good job of putting bling and sparkle on it anyway. So I had to put some scaffolding in the back there for racing, because not that I don't enjoy picnic days and vintage sports car club events, it's just that I wanted a little bit of depth and variety with the vehicle. So I go to historic Winton, I do a few gear days, the cars run at Phillip Island, and and now I'm running at the Pheasantwood circuit. Is a brand new circuit, and I've been fortunate enough to have a run around it on 3 separate occasions, and yesterday in the wet, it's marvellous. This circuit dries out in 20 minutes. Fantastic. It's a challenging circuit. I'm not going to say it's not. Jim, it is a challenging circuit. But
well, some people don't like that sort of tight nature of tracks. They prefer like Phillip Island where it's flat out.
Yeah, I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I love Phillip Island.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
to be honest with you, the circuit's too fast for my car. It's
Yeah.
a 100-mile-an-hour car.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm doing 100 miles an hour pretty quickly, but there's so much drag in front of this car because it's a sports car first and not a race car. And she's road equipped in this. You know, look at the lights and the jewellery up front. You know, there's so much drag involved with the drag coefficients damn well through the roof.
So what's the motor in this? What's it?
It's a standard 2.5 litre Riley.
What, 4-cylinder?
4-cylinder. It was known as the Big Riley 4. And there's really a pre-war technology because the British were scrambling for, because they were busy making aeroplanes during the Second World War. And also they were scrambling to make post-war cars. So they used some pre-war engines and made it a delightful car actually. The R&B Riley sedan, it was a 4-door, beautiful thing with a vinyl top. And if you wanted to buy an FJ Holden, okay, the FJ had a 6-cylinder engine in it. But the R&B Riley was a far more elegant car.
Yeah.
We're just in the middle of the interview.
There you go.
Okay, Vic, come around here, man.
Out of the camera.
I'm being interviewed.
Oh,
here.
sorry.
Yeah. I'd like to introduce
So-
Vic Vasella. Come over here, Vic, and have a chat to me. Vic's on the All Historic meeting, and what do we say at All Historic meetings? Together. The sites,
And sounds
sounds
of
of
history.
history. Good on you, Vic. Yeah, thanks for turning up. Go on, Jim.
So the suspension looks, it's double wishbone suspension. For that time would have been.
Yeah, well, it's torsion bar, independent fronts, and
Right,
as
yep.
you say, for that time it was independent suspension was all the go. If you look at the Mark IV Jags, they were a beam axle up front, so it was to the Mark V they got in it. If you look over this car, there's lots of Mark I and possibly XK120 bits on it. Go ahead.
When something goes wrong, you're not going to pop down to Repco and buy another fuel pump, are you?
No.
Well, how do you get around some of the part problems?
Fortunately, most of the stuff is, well, these days, because of the internet, you can get fuel pumps. You can get disposable items like oil filters.
Distributor caps are the ones, I think.
Well,
you can't make that, you know?
No, and you're absolutely spot on there, Jim. You know what we've done? We've cheated.
Yeah.
We put a Bosch 007 distributor in it.
Yep.
So that solved a lot of problems.
Yep.
Firing orders 1, 2, 4, 3, and just prior to this, I was cleaning the distributor just prior to this meeting. Guess who mucked up in the firing order?
Yep.
Yes, it was me. But we swapped. Did a bit of tracing and got that sorted in a moment. SU bits are pretty easy to come by. This has got H4s on it. Do you want to take some engine shots? Or?
Yeah, I'll do it in a minute, yeah.
Yeah. What else?
So
The
what
rear
about
end-
driving it? It's obviously not going to be like a modern car to drive.
No,
It's,
no.
Now, when you get out, like you drive your modern car on the road every day, when you come to an event or you drive this thing, does your brain just go click and you're back in that mode, or does it take a few Ks to...
Jim, I'm a very fortunate man or young boy because I learned to drive in this car.
Yeah.
And so I'm 65 now, and I got my license within the first week of turning 17. And my father had me doing reverse U-turns in this car.
Yeah.
So I'm very used to it.
Yeah.
And it is like putting on an old shoe.
Exactly. It's like sitting in your old lounge chair or something.
Yeah.
You get out of the modern car, and they're wonderful things. You know?
Oh, of course they are.
But when you get into something like this, it's like, this is a proper car.
Well, Jim,
nothing's wishy-washy. The steering, the gears.
This is putting this thing up a hill, which is probably what it was designed for. It's just a joy.
Yeah.
It's just a joy. you just come alive, and you've got plenty of. The Riley engines were known for their torque because they're a long stroke.
Yeah.
And Ray originally put a 1949 Ford Ute rear end in it, which was a 4.11 to 1 ratio. In the wet, I did a half axle at Winton quite a few years back, and it was rather than we wanted to change the diff ratio, and we brought it down to 3.89 now. Salisbury, very common rear end, so it wasn't as if I was butchering or taking away from the original design concept.
Yeah.
So it just gives me a bit taller first. I mean, with a 4.11 diff ratio. I could climb walls. But it was just, and he was like, "Why have I got first?" You know? But 3.8 done. I've got a little bit of legs in first. It's crashing in second and synchros through second, third, and fourth.
Right. So
It's a Riley box.
this obviously has been in the family a long time.
Oh yeah.
So is this something that you'll go to your grave with, or if someone come along with a handful of money, you'd part with it?
My wife's got instructions. Don't sell it in Australia because they don't appreciate. They don't appreciate muscle cars, Holdens and Fords.
Yep.
And I said, sell it in the UK, you'll get double the money. Because
Yep.
who cares what I'm doing?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like it to stay in Australia, obviously, because it's an Australian special.
Yep.
It should stay here.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, money talks.
Yep.
And nonsense walks.
Yep.
So, well, I don't know. What else can I tell you?
Yep.
Any
Well,
questions for me?
Thank you very much for the chat.
Okay, thank you so much,
Yep.
sir.
See you later.
Uh,
I'm Quack Quick Ballard. Bye for now.